G'day guys, sorry for the delay. I know a lot of you have been messaging about when the next Rammed Earth videos are going to be ready. We are working on them and we've had a few setbacks with health. As you can tell, I've still got a bit of a cold. I'm still recovering from pretty major surgery as well, had my spine fused. But in the meantime, we thought we'd just upload one of the simplest things you can make. Very, very simple, and it's healthy. Great way for kids to eat their greens and that sort of thing. Is our take on basil and cashew dip. We use, as you can see, some of the basil that's already flowering. So normally you go through the garden and pick the heads off and throw them out. Well, we just put them all in the basket and pick some. Oh, what's that? Moringa, is it? We picked all kinds of things. Some kale, some garlic chives. Even omega-3, the big plumpy weeds that grow in the garden. We've put some of that in there, some rocket, anything that's green, tastes delicious. So probably the biggest thing to remember with this recipe, if you like, we're actually not going to give you a recipe, just grab some greens out of your garden, is to do the greens first without the nuts in it. Just do greens. I'm putting a little bit of chili salt in. I've put some Himalaya salt. Be very careful with that stuff. It's very strong. You can overpower it very quickly. Because I've got a lot of bitter sort of type herbs, I'm putting some agave syrup, which gives it a little bit of sweetness, but it gives it a different flavour too. And I also put some sesame oil, which is almost a burnt flavour. I liken it to a burnt flavour. Tiny. It's just got a different taste. So that's all for flavour. And then what you want to do is put a bit of your olive oil in, but not your full amount right now. You're just going to put in enough to mix it into all your leaves and get the salt sort of mixed thoroughly in with all the leaves and everything that's in there. Now the only prep I did for this stuff, if it was sandy, I just gave it a quick rinse. We don't use any chemicals or anything like that, so we don't have to wash our food like that, but if there is sand on it, we'll get rid of the sand. And I removed some of the bigger stalks from the basil flowers or the kale. You might not need to do that, and often I won't do that, but we did have some big stalks in there. But other than that, so you can see there, it's mixing nicely and starting to get more and more smooth, and then you really give it a fast whiz to make the particles as small as possible. You don't want string or chompy bits in there. So that's what I've done there, is I've just jiggled the Thermomix around. You obviously don't need to use a Thermomix, but we've sort of scraped the sides and all that sort of thing and get it all down so you can really get it as fine as possible before the nuts are in there. Now all I do is obviously drop the cap in there by accident, but I'll just add cashews. Now we're using organic cashews, they're unroasted. You can use any type of nuts you like. If you are going to use say walnuts are quite bitter. I don't use almonds because I'm a little bit allergic to them, but another tip for this, to make sure you get a good consistency, is to put all of your nuts in one hit, and then blend them very quickly, like on a high speed, 7 or 8 or 9, but only for a few seconds. And that way you'll get a consistent sort of size of nuts. And here I'm just backblading. I'm reversing the blade just to mix it a bit more without crunching them. If you do it for too long, it'll just turn into mush, and that's not what you want. But as you can see here, the consistency is very, very good, and I'm just going to mix the last little bits as I empty it into the container with the spatula, and it's good for you. It's delicious. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's one of the favourite things that you can make, and all it is from your trimmed clippings in the garden. How good is that? I mean, it's pretty amazing the way God gives us plants that taste good and they're good for you. So very, very easy to do. Simple, quick. That's the way we like it. So a couple of tips, just to recap. Make sure you mix your ingredients without the nuts first and pulverize it, make it as small as possible. when you put your nuts in, whiz them very quickly, but only for a few seconds, short bursts, so all the nuts get chopped to the same size. If you wanted to add a little Parmesan cheese or something like that, or pine nuts is another good one. We didn't have either of those, and so I didn't do it, but all just different. So grab some water crackers or your favourite type of crackers, and there you go. Keep on growing, guys.